Greetings, travelers. The amount of discourse and drama surrounding the release of Kuro Games' upcoming gacha, Wuthering Waves, has been absolutely massive. Let's go into some of these main points that doomsayers have been making. The lack of marketing. At the time of writing this video, we have exactly 30 days until the release of Wuthering Waves, and as someone who refuses to browse the internet without adblock, I've seen close to a dozen ads throughout various platforms like YouTube, Twitch, Reddit, TikTok, and Instagram. Kuro definitely learned their lesson from their previous game, punishing Grey Raven, and very clearly has been engaging their marketing team into pushing out ads. Within this next month, I would anticipate Kuro starts to make even greater strides with their campaign, alongside the various Twitch and YouTube content creator sponsors that have been rumored. Speaking of content creators, are we forgetting the fact that Kuro has an entire campaign dedicated to encouraging content creators to make content for their game? Last year on April 10th, 2023, Kuro announced Project Wave, encouraging creators to produce content centered around Wuthering Waves, with cash and merchandise incentives, and early access into wuwa's development, info, and CBTs. The program initially closed on May 20th, 2023, but was reintroduced this year back in January 18th and ran until February 11th. Creators that produced high-quality content had the opportunity to sign long-term contracts with Kuro, giving them a direct line for communication and feedback. The next topic is the lack of content to report on. Various creators have been extremely vocal about there not being enough information surrounding the game to report on, or that the current information surrounding the game will become outdated by the time the game launches. Had to take a moment regarding this thought process. It's like their first time these creators have ever covered a game that isn't released yet and is still in closed testing. Yes, most of the information that is being covered during beta will be defunct by the time the game comes out. Kuro has already stated that 90% of the story alone was reworked during development. Nobody should be surprised that things change from beta to release, and this isn't a bad thing. Secondly, there is enough information out surrounding the game. Wuthering Waves had 2 CBTs, closed beta tests, which both lasted roughly a month each. The majority of the characters, systems, progression, and story is all out there for everyone to see. And I would know, I've been doing a ton of research. Due to this game being brand new, there's no easy way to ingest information or a one-stop shop wiki like these creators are used to. Creators have gotten lazy and expect them to be handed content on a silver platter without doing research and due diligence while having the nerve to say that Wuthering Waves will flop due to these. A few creators were complaining that the Wuthering Waves YouTube was relatively dead considering how close to the release we are. Comparing the Wuthering Waves channel to Genshin's prior to launch, we're met with a pretty similar experience. Genshin, June 7th, 2019, a 2-minute announcement trailer with some very basic exploration and cutscenes. August 1st, 2019, a 4-minute video with some extremely basic gameplay. January 14th, 2020, a 1-minute preview of a zone, nothing of substance. August 6th, 2020, a 1-minute 30-second state of gameplay with absurdly basic mechanics. September 27th, 2020, 1 day before the game launched, 2-minute gameplay / announcement trailer. Outside of the various videos that I have listed above, the only other content uploaded to their YouTube was the OST and 3 character demos. People have been expecting Kuro to simply throw millions upon millions of dollars into marketing Wuthering Waves. Kuro Games is a relatively smaller company compared to MiHoYo, who prior to launching Genshin Impact already had a massively successful game with Honkai Impact 3rd. While punishing Grey Raven was semi-popular, it's obvious Kuro has the fraction of a budget Hoyo had when producing and launching Genshin. The argument of the game is too similar to Genshin Impact. There's a lot to unpack to this statement, so let's address the elephant in the room and give some credit where credit is due. Genshin Impact more or less created the genre of the fantasy open-world gacha RPG. Critics and lovers of the game and genre alike can agree to this, but this does not discredit any future game developers attempting to capitalize on the genre. Demon Souls created the Souls-like genre. Does that mean we should start to discredit developers that aren't From Software for releasing titles in the genre? Without the trailblazers of From Software, we wouldn't have gotten great games like Remnant 1 and 2, Nioh 2, Lies of P, Phantom Blade Zero, Black Myth Wukong, and Rise of the Ronin, and other various indie titles that fit the concept of the Souls-like genre. There's been a ton of flack given to Kuro for copying the UI elements of Genshin. In the majority of the games that I spoke on earlier, the UI elements remain mostly the same as the OG Demon Souls, but isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's only so many ways to display information on your screen that is appealing to the eye, makes sense, and users are familiar with. People often forget the massive amounts of research and development, feedback, and money that went into perfecting the UI on major titles. There's also a need in our case for the UI to seamlessly be able to transition between PC and mobile, and eventually console. Let's go into a couple more specifics. League of Legends, Smite, and Dota 2 all share an extremely similar UI. Fortnite, PUBG, and Apex all share a similar UI. Hell, even Windows, Mac OS, and Linux all share a similar UI. Some creators have had the audacity to complain about the dark, gloomy atmosphere of Wuthering Waves. Either they're farming or just ignorant. But this was the very obvious intent of Kuro, given the story. The lament was meant to be a catastrophic event, wiping out the majority of humans on Sol 3, leaving humanity on the brink of extinction. The calamity caused various abnormalities on Sol 3, leaving behind wave-word phenomenons, which has significantly impacted the planet. The story is literally post-apocalyptic. The atmosphere and artistic style choices are a direct representation of the story. I've heard the phrase thrown around, if Wuthering Waves does not kill Genshin, it will be considered a flop. Firstly, let's address the second elephant in the room. Wuthering Waves will not come close to the massive success that is Genshin, at least on launch, and that's not a bad thing. The statement to me is absolutely bonkers, and this creator clearly has not been part of the MMO space and followed all of the World of Warcraft killers over the past 15 years. Every MMO released was dubbed the WoW killer at some point. Anyone who thinks, or even wants Wuthering Waves to be the Genshin killer is huffing copium, or has an unhealthy view on gaming. Games shouldn't kill other games. They should compete with each other. More than one game can exist in a genre without them killing each other. Any company holding a monopoly on a genre is straight up loss for you, the consumer. Competition encourages companies to innovate new ideas and strategies. It encourages them to improve their product and make the consumer experience better than their competitor. Both companies existing in the same place is a net win for both communities, and we should not be preying on the downfall of either game. Let's talk about the difficulty. Creators have been concerned about the difficulty presented in Wuthering Waves. I can understand where they're coming from with this concern. The casual audience is what is going to make or break Wuthering Waves' general launch and overall success. This may be the first major point I agree with, where a vast majority of player base from games like Genshin and Honkai are in for a rude awakening. The standard combat is a majorly different experience in Wuthering Waves, where the timing, dodges, parries, and combos excel. From the majority of footage in CBT 1 and 2, the general story mode and open world exploration seem very easy enough for the casuals to get through. Although I do foresee a ton of people quitting on various bosses or crying to Reddit and Twitter regarding difficulty. It seems Wuthering Waves is able to ride the line between giving us a decent challenge while not being your standard brainless button mash like Genshin. Wuthering Waves will be offering increased difficulties for various content as well, giving the hardcore players something to strive for greater rewards. Souls-like games taught us all a valuable lesson. People don't want to steamroll content. They want to be challenged. They want to be frustrated. It makes the reward at the end infinitely better than if you were simply handed it. At the time of writing this video, the number of free registrations on the official Wuthering Waves website is about to reach 23 million. This is with Kuro's steady drip marketing over the past year. It does not take into account the guerrilla marketing companies tend to do within the 2-week window of a game's launch. If you have not pre-registered yet, I highly encourage you to do so. Alright, so in conclusion, while I understand creators may be worried for the game and are simply giving constructive criticism and feedback, I feel a ton of it is misguided and misinformed. Unfortunately for the gacha community, toxicity, drama, farming clickbait titles are the norm, so I have no ill will or feelings towards any creator expressing their concerns. At the end of the day, creators just want a fun and interactive game. A flopped game does nothing for anyone except the Genshin stans who hope every game flops so their child can remain in the limelight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thanks for making it through the video. I'd appreciate it if you guys drop me a subscribe or go follow my Twitch. I'll be streaming Wuthering Waves all day on the release. At the end of the day, guys, let's just let Kuro cook. We still have a couple weeks until the game launches. Alright, see ya.